So what do you get when you cross Dragon Bond systems, dice pools, and 4th edition complexity? A game that's got claws, flair, and a learning curve sharp enough to cut glass. Well, today we're talking about Drakonym. Let's break it down. Hi, hello everybody, my name is Turk and welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here we do all different kinds of TTRPG weirdness, but today we are taking a look to figure out if Drakonym is for you or not. First, we're going to start off to talk about what is Drakonym. It is a fantasy TTRPG that was created by Crossed Paths. This is the same people that made Bramble Trek and Ashes and a couple other really cool TTRPGs, so these guys have been around the block a couple of times. This system is built for 2 to 6 players and it uses the traditional Herald Game Master role, but it also supports GM-less play with the full Oracle system and solo play things. And if you guys have been following the channel long enough, you know how much I love doing solo play. Before we move forward, I also do want to say that the folks over at Cross Paths were kind enough to send us here at the Grouch Couch the couple of rule books and a deck of spell cards for us to get a first look at this. They sent it over to us early, so we've also done a full actual play one-shot episode that you could also find right here on the channel. I believe it should have gone up the day before this video goes up, but you could find it in the card, or the link for that will be down in the description if you want to see this system in action. So Drakonym is set in the world of Akaroth. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Drakonym is about forging bonds with your dragons, surviving in a realm where 13 planes kind of bleed into one another, and it's about shaping your legend with tactical dice pool mechanics and emotional, hopefully, storytelling. There is a 270 plus page core rulebook plus the spell cards. There's also a Herald's Guide, and there's also a solo rulebook. I think currently you can get all this stuff only over on Backer Kit, but soon enough you should be able to get it also on their website and hopefully on DriveThruRPG. Once those things do update, I'll make sure to update all the links down in the description of this video so you can pick it up for yourself. But there are also pre-generated characters and one-shots. They have plans to do all different kinds of things with this here system, including a hex map with full locations, additional adversaries and monster stats, guides for GMs to create their own adventures, short module campaigns and expanded magical items and rules for item creation. They have plans to do all different kinds of fun stuff with this system, which is wonderful. You love to see it because whenever a new system comes out, you need consistent content over time to keep the system alive. And I think that's one of the things they're going to be doing here. So, you know, if you decide to invest in this system, you're going to have new things coming for a little while. And I should say, I do believe the books that we got were kind of like a pre-alpha kind of book thing. So everything might be subject to change. Just make sure to check out updates on Backer Kit and stuff like that. And, you know, you guys will see what's up. Now, before we get into the top-down camera and we talk some more about the physicality of these books, what they look like, what's going on inside of them, and how to play them, I want to give you guys a little bit of my opinions and my experience on this book thus far, all right? Let me be 100% real right here at the top. The Grouch Couch crew, we had a great time playing the included starter adventure. It was awesome. It ran super smooth. The vibes were high. The story was actually kind of compelling, but we did also struggle in a couple of different spots, right? The layout of this book is something we're not used to. So to us, it was a little bit rough. And our players got tripped up a little bit here and there, even trying to build their characters, which I will talk more about later. The key rules in this book, though, were almost hidden in weird places, or like some things were barely mentioned and we had to like search for them and find them inside of the book. Thankfully, we had the PDF and we could use Control F to just search and find what we needed. One of our players straight up missed how to assign their stats completely and had to wait a whole week for us to meet up to figure out how to do it because the point buy method was written in tiny text on an earlier page and not in the character creation chapters, just as an example. As a herald, though, me as the GM, that's what they call it, I did like the vibes. I loved the idea of dragon bonding and appreciated all of the built-in guidance that comes with the Herald's Guide. It really is kind of like perfect for beginner GMs. I just kind of skimmed over a lot of it because I've been doing this for so long, but in my mind, I knew that if there was a beginner GM, it would be so helpful for them. But between HP versus wounds and all of the math, the conditions, the grit, the hero dice, the AP pools, the shadow dice, the mana, and there's just a lot to juggle at one time and remember as the herald. Thankfully, my players were very helpful, and they kind of managed and tried to remember all of their stuff themselves, which I really appreciated, and it made it easier on me. I think if you have a group that does not manage all of their resources well by themselves, just something to think about here. But this game is so full of amazing, awesome ideas. I know in my up top opinions here, there's a couple of negative things I want to say, but also there are amazing things with this book. The idea of it by itself, the art of it itself, the mechanics that they built itself. There's a couple of cool moves you can do in here, even a preparedness check that you can make that they included in this system that I think is just awesome. I love a good preparedness check. This game is not an easy pickup, but it is full of really cool stuff. But now, let's go over to the top-down camera and let's break it down even more. All right, so now we're going to talk about the physical parts of this beautiful book, okay? This is a hardcover book. I know you guys love the hardcover ASMR taps. So they did provide me with the solo, the spell cards, and the hardcover rule book. And the solo one's a little bit thinner here, doesn't have as many pages. But first of all, the Drakonym book, the core rule book, has the physical book. Beautiful art in the back. I mean, just to say that, first of all. Lots of monster stuff. I'm looking for a page number here for you guys. Looks like it has about 272. Like I said, same for the PDF, but this one includes a few art things and a couple extra monsters in here. So I'd call it probably 280 pages completely. So the art in this thing, first of all, let's start off with that. It is pretty much gorgeous. Even the artist of our show, Children of Proteus, said themselves at the top of our actual play episode that they loved the art in this book. She was completely just staying all dumbfounded by it. She thought it was very, very cool. And I thought so too. Absolutely amazing. So I have here in my notes that the cover and the lead interiors of the art were done by Brian Arata, and with spell and character art was done by Selwyn Dalusung, and it's packed with, I mean, all different kinds of just evocative high fantasy imagery all the way through, even small little stuff like this cool little skeleton guy down here. We appreciate that so much. So this is still, like I said before, one of the earlier editions of their book, so everything is always subject to change, but just look at how beautiful this page is right here. It's so good. I would use that as a desk mat, and every page here has something cool. So I am designing one of my own adventure books. Me and Children of Proteus, the artist, and one of our other artist friends, we're doing it together. Abstracto, shout out. This one is just my favorite character art in this whole book. I think I said it during our actual play, but it's so cool. And I've always been a fan of Deerling as well. It was actually one of our first like homebrew things in our world. So we actually got to play a Deerling in a system, which was a lot of fun. But I'm a sucker for good layout. I think pages of just text is so hard to read, especially someone with ADHD like me. So having a beautiful, look at this full page art of, it almost reminds me of like Skyrim. This is like one of the classes that you can put together. Well, these are the 4 main classes, and then you branch off to one of these ones. And I think it has 20 included, I don't call them classes, but they're paths, 20 included paths that you pick on top of that, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But the art and the physicality of this thing is beautiful. So let's talk a little bit as well about the art in the solo book. It's kind of the same, just a lot of really, really cool stuff. I think some of the pages do differ. So there is some additional art in the solo book. It's not all copy and pasted the same stuff. It's really good. The pages here are nice and thick, and actually I live somewhere that it's like super hot outside. Whoops, move the whole camera. Like 130 degrees. So when it came in the mail, I was like, oh no, the book. But they actually came okay. There's a little bit of rippleage from the weather outside, just coming through the mail in 130 degrees. But it honestly kind of worked out really good here. So no issues whatsoever. The art on the cards, we also feature these in our actual play. There is a full fat stack of these cards, and it includes every single spell that's in the book. They're all by each color of the invocations, I think is what they call them. So there's like 5 or 6 different invocations, and each one of them features its own cool little art, and I think these are just awesome. And I know the text is tiny, so you need to actually get up close to read it, but it was so helpful while we were playing. These cards were awesome because the player wanted to do a spell, and me as the GM, because we played online, whipped out their spell card and could just read it for them. Like I already had it handy, and that kind of helped out like a lot. So even though it's a lot of text on this tiny little card. I might have designed them differently with the amount of text, but it works. It really does work. And it even has the CR on there. It has everything that you need to know, like, you know, what it takes to cast it, how many mana things and stuff like that. These cards are honestly wonderful, and they're a special treat. I love little extras when it comes to systems, you know? I love little things that you can get. So I don't have the Herald's Guide in physical here, but I do have the PDF of it, so I did read through that online. I talked about it earlier. The Herald's Guide was really helpful. There's also some pre-generated character sheets. I think they come with character art. We didn't play with those, but they looked perfect, and I think if you're trying to get your friends into this system, giving them a pre-generated character sheet will help them out a lot. Okay, that's the physical stuff. Now let's talk a little bit about how this system works, and while I always try to just skim through the book while I talk about how the systems work, so you have something fun just to look at while I talk about it. And this is a simplified version. I wouldn't consider this a full-on tutorial, but this is just enough to let you know if this book is for you or not, because that's the point of this review. Right. Drakonym uses a dice pool system. You roll a number of d6s based on your stats, your gear, and your buffs. So you can get up to like 5, you know, or 6 d6s that you roll, and you roll that dice pool all at once. And the name of the game here is for you to get successes in this dice pool. If you roll a 5 on one of those d6s, that is 1 success. If you roll a 6 on one of those d6s, that is 2 successes. Criticals in this game work in the form of getting 2 or more d6s at once, which will grant you a hero point and, you know, could also give you extra bonuses depending on what you're doing. You assign a primary attribute when you're building your character, one of the 5 attributes, 6 attributes they have here, and they are not your usual dexterity, strength, wisdom attributes. They actually came up with all their own original fun stuff, straying away from some of the more popular TTRPGs. You pick one primary attribute which will determine almost everything that you're going to be rolling with, including your defense rolls, your spell checks, and your defense rolls. Combat is powered, though, by an action point system. It is something else for you to keep track of. You spend an AP to do stuff on your turn. Move, attack, cast, or dodge, pretty much. And defense in the system is reactive. So all of the rolls in this game are player forward, meaning whenever an enemy wants to make attack, you tell your player they're being attacked, and you tell them to make a defense check, which is going to use their primary stat dice plus their defense bonus that they have from their armor, usually 1, 2, or 3 d6s to add on to that. Spellcasting uses the same dice pool, but it includes customizable effects, and spellcasting has a mana cost, something else for you to track here if you are a spellcaster. You can modify spells mid-cast by adding things like damage or effect at the cost of extra mana. You can give them bigger areas of effect. You can make them go further or do more damage, stuff like that, by using all of your mana, but you got to think about using your mana smart because it refreshes at dawn or whenever you rest or whatever. This game also uses hero points, something else for you to track here, that you earn them on crits, and you can use a hero point to make a 4 count as a success. Basically, give yourself bless is what that is in this system. You can make 1 4 count as a success by using a hero point, or you could re-roll your whole dice pool by spending 2 hero points. Encore dice, grit, and bane/blesses will tweak your rolls, and it's an additional thing for you to track. If you are a performer, you get encore dice. I believe one of our characters was a performer. He had to track that on top of tracking grit, which is another thing you track. If you're not a spellcaster, you're an attacker, you're tracking grit instead of mana. Shadow dice is another thing you got to track in this system. It's a d12 used whenever you want to push your luck. It gives you extra successes but grants the herald shadow marks that they can use to complicate your life. In my personal opinion, the shadow marks were pointless as a herald. You're going to be doing all of that stuff anyway, but in the book it says they just want that to be there to show the players that there is additional consequences for pushing their luck. I believe that you can just have, if they roll a 1 on a shadow dice, it could just be a negative thing. So think about changing up the shadow dice rolls a little bit if you decide to play this thing, or you can play it straight, totally up to you. There are an insane amount of resources to track in this system, but once the combos start stacking and your players know what they're doing, it completely is fire, okay? One of our players did some crazy stuff in his one single move that he did, and it was very cool, and he utilized all the resources that he had been saving. If your players are min-maxers that love to push these systems to the max, that's one of our players. His name is Slade. He knows who he is. He did something really, really cool on his turn. Check out the actual play. Whoops. If you you want to see that, okay? But if you don't like tracking 100 different resources, it will kind of be a pain for you to do this. Like I said at the top, one of my players straight up said, this is like 4th edition complexity, which I never played 4th edition, but I will take their word for it, all right? Now let's talk a little bit about what is cool about this system, in my opinion, okay? The Dragon Bond system in this book is amazing. Your dragon is a full character that grows, evolves, and reacts to your choices, okay? There's also custom spell crafting in this system where you can get creative and you can experiment with the different spells. You can get aspects from different spells or combine two different spells. So you have this mana resource you have to track that you can spend to make your spells more powerful and combine them. There's also effects like blindness or burning or bane, you know, stuff like that your players can inflict on enemies, and that can be inflicted on them. Yes, it's an additional thing that you're gonna have to track, but it's a cool idea to have these effects like acid and fire actually do things. It's very, very fun, and you can use that with your combining of these spells. More resources to track, I know. The vocation system in here lets you mix and match any class with any path for tons and tons of build variety. The build variety for characters in this system is insane. Yeah, there's only 4 classes to pick to start, but after that, there's 20 different paths you can pick from, each with different things that they can do. If your players love min-maxing, okay, this is a book for you. Because to top that off, they can get a different kind of dragon that will also boost their attacks and stuff. One of my players was playing a Veal, and he was talking about if he had a mirror dragon as a pet, he could duplicate himself 20 times and then like go super shadow and like perform, and like he was just going off. He was so excited about it. So dragons are another thing that can give you more abilities to allow you to min-max your characters. It's insane. At one point, my characters felt super powerful, but then when they were out of resources, they felt super weak. There's a good give and take here. They were like, I don't know, I feel too powerful. And then when we were at the boss fight, they were like, oh crap, I used all my stuff. I don't feel powerful anymore. There's a big give and take here. All I'm saying is that once we figured it out, the combo system is wild. All right. If you love synergy heavy character building, there is a lot here to do. They thought about it a lot, and it's a lot of fun. Okay. The starter adventure in this is also excellent. I don't know if this book is going to come with the starter adventure. It was a PDF. You could probably get it on their website or on BackerKit. The starter adventure was fantastic. It was 2 hours. Check it out. We did an actual play of it. The Herald's Guide also includes solid advice, okay, for all beginner players. I have to mention that. Now, let's talk about some of the deal breakers with this system. Cross paths, I love you guys, but we have to be honest in all of our reviews. That's the way that it goes. The layout of this book is kind of chaotic, all right? Its info is scattered and some rules are buried or missing. Let's go to that example that I was talking about earlier. For some reason, the book doesn't open up into what is this book? The book opens up into a quick start. Let's build your character right away on the first page. But additionally, in the chapters, there's an actual let's build your character later. And that's where we're gonna go because that's where all the info is. But if you look on this, the only place it says attributes standard array is right here on this book, page 15. But if we go to the actual character building section, way over here, it's not there. It doesn't say it. It doesn't say that's what you're supposed to do. So one of my characters spent forever trying to figure it out. Like it says here, you know, you got to craft your character. All this stuff, you pick your character kin. It explains all the different character kins. And we were like, sweet, that's awesome. And then they were going into their classes. But then they had to be like, where do I learn how to? It's right here. We took forever to find it. So that's just one of my examples. The layout is kind of chaotic. Oh, also, it's the same for the solo book because I was like, I'm going to do a solo of this. And in the solo book, it talks about doing hexes and moving through it like a solo hex crawl. And I thought that was super cool. But it mentions all these hexes and there's like little images of a map. And I was like, well, where's that map? And I looked through all the PDFs and I looked through the other book. And then I found the map. It was just chilling in a random spot in this book. And I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find it now. It's just like randomly. Nope, it's not there. Here's me trying to find it again. Really cool map. Don't know why it's there. Yeah, here it is. It's right between descriptions of spells and tables and oracles. There's just a hex map right in the center of the book. And I was like, okay, it doesn't tell you where it is anywhere. I had to literally find it. And I looked through everything and had to come back and find it. So the layout is a little difficult for me, personally. That being said, I also have here in my notes to mention that the stat system is unclear. I mentioned that because the attribute things were like, where the heck is everything? Right. There is a wound versus HP system, so all the characters in this game, they take wounds instead of HP, which is kind of cool. You know, you got to get past their armor first, and then you get into everything else. But as the Herald, I had an issue because all of the enemies have HP instead of wound slots, right? Like the players do. So if they're dealing 1 damage, a player is, that makes sense. But a lot of the spells say deal 2 heavy wounds. And what do I do? What do I do? They have HP. They don't have heavy wounds. So I actually had to go to the wound section and I had to convert it, basically. I had to be like, okay, well, if a heavy wound is between 4 and 6 HP of damage, then he's dealing 5 damage twice. So he dealt 10 damage. I had to do all that on my own and figure it out because it doesn't say that anywhere. So, I mean, with the enemies, maybe we should go with wound slots and players are dealing light wounds or, you know, something similar, just like the enemies would do. Something like that. I don't know. I don't write books. But moving on here. Spell damage and defense formulas are confusing at first, I will also say. It's there's an actual math equation in this book for how it works, which is a little crazy to me to have like real math equations in a book like this, but it makes sense once we understood it. But it was so intimidating. Like, why am I doing algebra when I'm just trying to bond with a dragon, you know? So that's something else to think. There are too many mini systems, like I already mentioned before, too many resources to track. And this book, I don't think is one-shot friendly. Even one of my players said that we loved the one-shot that they had provided, but they wanted more. There wasn't enough, we didn't get enough out of it. They wanted the story to continue, which I guess is a good thing. They wanted more story, right? So this really isn't one-shot friendly. I think I covered everything. This book is so cool. I want to run it back here. It's so cool. The idea of it is so cool. I should probably show some of the dragon bonding sections, I think, and some of the cool dragons in here. The aura dragons, and then there's actual like bonding questions to bond with these dragons. The astral dragons. Look at the art for the astral dragons. So cool. They have a whole dragon families section that comes with all this cool art and stuff, and the aura dragons, and it's so cool. Look at the little Gnawborn guy riding on the mirror dragon, just like my character said that my player said that they wanted to do. It's so cool. The dragons are amazing. The idea of bonding with the dragons is amazing. It's so legendary. You know what I mean? Even like, imagine just finding and saving a little wyvern dragon and then watching it grow and bonding with it over time. It's just such a cool backstory to have in there. It's so cool. The idea of it is so cool. I know I said a lot of negatives about the the way the game works, but there's also so many positives in this book. There's so much good and so much, going on with it. It's just amazing. Okay, I think that's it for the top down. If you want to see more of this book and how it works and all the stuff, make sure to check out their website and PDFs and quick start guides and stuff like that. Links down in the description. But before any of that stuff, we're going to talk about, is this for you? If you love crunchy systems, character builds, combos, and emotional bonds with dragons, then yes, 100% this is for you, absolutely. Okay? If you want something lightweight, fast, and plug and play, like an old school revival, an OSR game, like, Morkborg or something like that, or something quick for a con game like Shadow Dark, this is definitely not for you, okay? If you want like a long-winded, awesome campaign bonding with dragons and flying through the skies and stuff, this is definitely for you, okay? For me, this is a flawed gem. It's beautiful. It's got passion, it's got flavor and ambition pouring out of every single page. But it also, needs a new run through, a new editor, maybe a version 2, right? A full layout overhaul. But I would still play this thing again. I absolutely would. And remember, you could check out our full one-shot playthrough right here up on the channel to see how it runs in full time. And hey, if you don't cry when the baby dragon says goodbye, you might just be a villain, all right? That's all that I'm saying. But for now, everybody, big thank you to CrossPass for sending us these books to play and review early. We really do appreciate it. Our reviews are always honest around here, so thank you so much for joining us. Remember, my friends, take a seat on the couch and roll initiative, at least for a little while. I have been Turk. Thanks for watching. Roll on that, weirdos. See you next time.